Hey, welcome to the Hutchinson House Reacts. I'm Leah Marlene. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we are going to react to Budde, aka the political activist Bishop Budde. I was calling her Bud in the last one, but I guess it's Budde. Marianne Budde. Marianne, she's not my buddy. She's not America's buddy, but she's somebody's buddy. The View thinks that she's their buddy for sure. Let's listen to her response of Trump's review of her sermon, and also how she spews to The View that she was doing this in love and it had to be named, and people are so scared. Children. I mean, it's over dramatic. It's so horrendous, her speech. If you want to watch the whole thing, I'll link it to this video and put it in the description as well. If you haven't seen it, I did a reaction to the entire video. But in here, we're going to just react to her reaction, which is, of course, on the nose what we expected from her, and on the nose what we expected from The View, because they love anything that's anti-Trump. Anybody who's a never Trumper, they love it. They praise never Trumpers. They praise Trump Derangement Syndrome, and they don't seem to really care about the people who are really actually scared. You know, the people who've lost their lives due to this poor immigration policy that Biden and Kamala put in place of the open borders. They don't have any compassion for the families whose children have lost their lives due to migrant crime. And then we're going to also check in locally here where I am in Colorado, where Denver Public Schools has now deterred ICE from being able to come in. Again, if they were to even go into a school or a church, they have rightful cause because somebody in there is dangerous. We should all be for that. And if they don't go into schools, but if they were to go into a school and the children, you know, are being questioned, it's because maybe they were trafficked. Maybe those kids shouldn't be with these people. Maybe their parents are trafficking them. Does any of The View ever think about these things? Obviously not. Does this Bishop Budde think about these things? Obviously not. They are in favor of the criminals, and that is the problem. That is the problem. They're missing the point entirely. I don't know who these people are working for, but it's not. I don't believe it's God. What do you think? Watch her response on The View as they swoon over her hate-filled rhetoric in the name of love and whispering and having the NPR voice where we all just whisper and then it means it's loving. No, it doesn't. Some of the most cutting people can whisper, as you see in this video. Watch. Because anybody in support of criminals is just beautiful and wonderful. And if we whisper about it, in a really condescending manner, then everyone thinks it's loving. No, it's creepy, it's dangerous, and it's actually harming children. It's harming many people, and it's divisive. And I could go on, but let's watch.
There was a national prayer service yesterday in D.C. led by Bishop Marian Edgar Budde, who made this plea to the newly elected president. Watch.
Mr. President, millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
What about the scared children? What about the families who've lost their lives due to migrant crime? Of course, they don't care about these people, but Trump does. Melania does. J.D. Vance does. Usha does. Oh, this bishop.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
And why do they fear for their lives? Why? There has been nothing that Trump has ever said to make them fear for their lives. If anything, they should be protected against people trying to change their gender at 8 years old. There's not an 8-year-old on the planet who can make a decision that's going to affect their entire life at 8 years old. That's what we want to protect children from, okay? Not from this very rare disease that is called body dysmorphia. Now it's become so commonplace that the bishop here thinks that it's okay to shame anybody who doesn't want to give their kids medicine without permission of the parent, by the way, to just let teachers or this bishop hand out medicine to their children. That's what we're protecting them from. Nobody's at harm here. Nobody is going to be harmed any longer anyway. I get so upset that the gaslighting and the twisting of this is disgusting.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals,
and they're not all immigrants, by the way, lady. This is how disconnected she is. But also, you're going to know in just a minute when she talks further with The View how she doesn't know how to read body language, because that's a first sign that you do not connect with your audience. And if you are a bishop, you have a job, an obligation to connect with the people that you're talking to. But in just a minute, you'll hear that she doesn't read the body language because she says she's normally wrong. And that, I believe her, that is the truth. Because somebody who's super disconnected, who only has a political agenda, they don't listen to people. They don't listen to the mothers who are mourning the children from the migrant crime. They don't listen to millions and millions of Americans who want safety, health, and well-being for all. They don't listen. They don't work off of people. And so she admits that she doesn't work off of anybody. She doesn't work off of the body language of people. Why should she? She has a mission and a hate-filled rhetoric to spew, and that's all she cares about. Just like The View, they don't work off of people. They don't listen, and she admits that. But she doesn't care, and that's a sure mark of somebody who doesn't care and doesn't have empathy. But later, Joy Behar says, "Oh, you have such empathy." No, that's the opposite of empathy. Empathy requires you to actually work off of the people that you're talking to actually take in their body language and notice how they're receiving the message. That is the job of somebody in a position like this woman is in. But clearly, she totally misses the mark on her job entirely.
They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
Oh, he didn't like that. Trump did not get the message. And
no, he didn't get the message, Joy Behar, because obviously you don't understand. I guess it will take TDA showing up at your doorstep and chopping off your fingers, which I don't wish on anybody. But maybe then Joy Behar would understand. I don't wish that on her. I don't wish that on anybody, and neither does Trump. And he's trying to even protect people like her who hate him. That's what's so amazing about Trump. He's actually trying to protect everybody, Joy Behar. And that's why he's really disappointed in this hate-filled rhetoric, because it's the opposite of what he believes.
now he's demanding an apology. So here to respond, please welcome Bishop Marion Edgar Budde. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. You seem to have more fearlessness than anyone in Congress right now, ma'am. What made you decide to use that opportunity for this message, or didn't you have any apprehension about it?
My response, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be with you today. My responsibility that morning, yesterday morning, was to reflect, to pray with the nation for unity. And as I was pondering what are the foundations of unity, I wanted to emphasize respecting the honor and dignity of every human being.
Well, you missed the mark. You missed the mark, buddy. Totally. 100% missed the mark on that one.
Basic honesty and humility.
Missed the mark on those as well. Totally missed the mark. I give you an F.
And then I also realized that that unity requires a certain degree of mercy and compassion and understanding.
But no mercy, compassion, and understanding for the people who are scared because it has not been safe in America by and large in many cities. I live in a sanctuary city. If you're new to this channel, you might not know that. I live in Denver, Colorado, and it's a sanctuary city, and it's been terrifying. It's been actually terrifying. There's gunshots every night. The TDA gang took over apartment buildings. This is all very real. The news, mainstream media likes to try to cover it up. And our governor or mayor tries to say, oh, it's all wonderful. Well, then you go hang out with TDA. Then you hang out in the streets where there are gunshots every night. Then you deal with this. Because for a lot of us, we don't like it. And we would actually rather it be safe for everybody, including the immigrants that have come here legally, because it's also very unsafe for them, by the way. I mean, this is just horrendous.
And so knowing that a lot of people, as I said, in our country right now are really scared, I wanted to take the opportunity in the context of that of service for unity to say we need to treat everyone with dignity, and we need to be merciful. And I was trying to counter the narrative that is so divisive and polarizing, and in which real people are being harmed.
Yeah, real people are being harmed. Like Jocelyn Nungari being harmed. She's gone. Like Lake and Riley, she was very harmed. Yeah, she's gone, unfortunately. You're not mentioning any of these people, right? Or like Ivory, what was her name? Ivory Smith, beautiful young 7-year-old girl who her life was taken by a migrant who was released from jail 2 months prior. I mean, just horrible. And the stories go on and on and on. But she's not worried about any of this.
Okay. Bishop, I was struck by your tone. You were so gentle. You were so respectful. You were very demure and very...
Because she was whispering? No, that doesn't make somebody respectful and gentle, because they're calling you names. They're saying to F off in a very whispery NPR voice. That doesn't make somebody demure and kind and gentle. Oh my gosh.
Very mindful. Mm-hmm. And you said all of this with Trump, J.D. Vance, and their families, including Melania, an immigrant, and Usha Vance, a child of immigrants, sitting there. Right. And their reactions were very visible for all of us to see. You could see their faces. Were you paying attention to how your message was received by them in that moment?
Okay, here, watch how joyful she is that she doesn't take in anybody's responses, because she doesn't work off of people, because she actually lacks empathy. That is a sure sign of a narcissist, when they're like, no, I don't take in anybody else's thing. I completely lack empathy is basically what she's saying. Watch.
And do you think it sunk in even a little bit?
You know, I've been preaching for a long time, and I've long since given up trying to read people's body language as I'm preaching. Because I would be wrong most of the time. So I don't know. I was aware that obviously people were listening, but I couldn't allow myself in that moment to I just had to keep going, right? I had what I felt was on my heart to say, and I had to leave it to them, to all of us, to take from whatever my words were, to heart in whichever way they could, and leave, as they say, leave the rest to God.
Bishop, predictably, you seem to strike a nerve. President Trump initially said yesterday it was, quote, not a good service, unquote. But overnight, he took to social media to say you were a, quote, radical left hardline Trump hater, unquote, that you brought the church into politics and that you owe your church and the public an apology. Now, given your role, it doesn't seem surprising that you would speak out for the marginalized, as anyone who's read the Bible and knows the path of Jesus. But do you think your message is being misconstrued and politicized?
Well, first of all, she's not speaking for the marginalized, because I didn't hear her once talk about Lake and Riley, Jocelyn Nungari, Ivory Smith, or any of the other, unfortunately, hundreds, maybe even thousands, we don't know, 340,000 plus children missing. She has no compassion for them. She doesn't even mention them. So this is absolutely absurd. And this is, in my opinion, not of God. What do you think?
Well,
ooh, my NPR sigh. Ooh.
Sure. Yeah. But I think if you read what I said, and I mean, how could it not be politicized, right? We're in a hyper political climate. One of the things I caution about is the culture of contempt in which we live,
that you're creating, that you are actually stirring the flames of, that you are actually creating in your divisive sermon that you call a prayer.
Immediately rushes to the worst possible interpretations of what people are saying and to put them in categories such as the ones you've just described. That's part of the air we breathe now. And
that's part of exactly what you are doing to Trump with your Trump Derangement Syndrome. Instead of saying, if you really wanted unity, you would say, you know, we all want health, wealth, safety, well-being for all. And sometimes the way that we go about that might look different, but to focus on the health, wealth, and safety of all, instead of you're bad because you want to protect people by closing the border. You're bad because you want to protect kids from having their teachers give them medicine that their parents haven't approved of. I mean, these are really common sense things, but she, of course, doesn't get it at all. Not in the slightest bit. Was she hired by The View to do this sermon? Who was she hired by? Let me know in the comments what you think.
And I was trying to speak a truth that I felt needed to be said, but to do it in as respectful and kind a way as I could. And also to bring other voices into the conversation, which voices that had not been heard in the public space for some time.
What voices haven't been heard? All we've heard for the past 4 years are voices like this woman's. That's it. And now the fact that Trump and millions of other Americans actually have a voice and that we're not censored, you don't like it. But we are the ones who've been censored this whole time. We are the ones who've been called racist and homophobes just because we don't maybe want a teacher to give medicine to our kid because one day they're imagining they're a unicorn or something. I mean, this is like crazy making. And I love all people, and people who have body dysmorphia, I love them too. But that's not 50% of the people in the world. That's not 50% of our children. So to be pushing that on our kids in the schools is very dangerous. I don't like that. I've talked to a lot of people who actually have transitioned. They don't like that. Look at Ty Rivera's channel, an old friend of mine. He doesn't like that. He's a gay man. There's a lot of people that speak out against this stuff. But when you do, you're a homophobe, no matter what, right? And it's not true. That is hate-filled. And that's not open and compassionate. This woman, I'm getting mad. I got to watch a Trump video again so I can just get happy and wave my little flags again, because that's when I get happy. You know, I mean, if you watch my videos of the inauguration, I'm so happy. I don't even comment a lot in there. So if you want to watch those, you don't want to hear me comment a lot, then watch those.
And Bishop, given that we live in such a divided time, as you've reflected on, and knowing how this message might be received by Trump supporters, I wonder if your words may have had more impact if they were shared one-on-one with the president. And was there an opportunity to have that conversation?
I've never been invited into a one-on-one conversation with President Trump. And I would welcome that opportunity. I have no idea how that would go. I can assure him and everyone listening that I would be as respectful as I would with any person.
And you were very disrespectful. So we know that you would be extremely disrespectful. Like you would whisper it though. I'm being so kind as I'm being disrespectful because I'm whispering.
And certainly of his office, for which I have a great deal of respect. But the invitation would have to come from him.
Bishop, as part of their crackdown on immigration, the Trump administration has already overturned policies to now allow ICE to go into what have been deemed legally sensitive areas, including churches, schools, hospitals, to apprehend migrants. As a woman of the cloth, how do you feel that the church, which has been a place of sanctuary since at least 511, and it actually predates Christianity to Roman and Greek times, that the church is no longer viewed that way by some?
Right. It's heartbreaking on one level. Let me be clear that it was never encoded in law. Any of the police officers and officials could come into our churches if they felt they had just cause. Now, they would need.
First time I heard this person say the truth. Yeah, you're wrong, Sonny. Weren't you an attorney? People can go, it's a public space. Police officers and ICE can go into a church or a school. It's a public space. Hello. And if they were going to go in there to maybe protect a child because maybe they were trafficked, see, people aren't looking at the whole big picture here. If there was any reason for ICE, which they've mentioned that they don't go into schools anyway, but if they were to go into a school, there's going to be just cause, and we should support them. We shouldn't try to teach children to be scared of police officers and the people trying to help them. That is horrible. No wonder why there are so many kids being trafficked, because these people are teaching them to be scared of the people that are protecting them. It's asinine.
Need a warrant. They would need all the legal requirements to enter into such spaces, at private spaces, as they would be necessary elsewhere, because churches are public spaces. They could go into them always. But you are right. It has been a practice. It has been an unwritten policy that there are some places, and particularly churches, schools, and other places where all sorts of people gather, to create a sense of safety and to allow people's basic human and spiritual needs to be met. We have a lot of churches in our particular denomination that are that meet the needs of immigrants and other vulnerable populations, and we need now.
In the woke populations? Did she just say in the woke populations? Huh? I gotta rewind that. Did she just say they support people in the woke populations?
That are that meet the needs of immigrants and other vulnerable populations, and we need now to be especially mindful and to make sure that basic human rights are protected and people's needs can be met. And we will continue to do.
But not basic safety, health, and well-being. Those can't be met by somebody like that. And then The View, everybody claps. So asinine. Let's watch now Denver Public Schools in their delusion to, for some reason, not protect children. Again, if ICE was to go into a public school, it would be for good reason. Maybe those kids are being trafficked. Maybe they're with people who they shouldn't be. And so at school, maybe they're secretly hoping somebody will protect them. But instead, all these people are like, no, we'll protect you from the people trying to protect you. What? What has happened to this world? Thank God common sense is back in the White House. I'm very grateful for Trump and his whole team.
The Trump administration announcing they've thrown out the rules that prevented immigration agents from making arrests at schools and churches.
And those rules about enforcing immigration laws at sensitive locations had been around since 2011. And now concerns over possible ICE raids in Colorado have some school districts making plans on how they would handle it.
Yeah, Fox 31's Vicente Arenas live from Denver's North High School with more on that story here at 5. Vicente.
And Jeremy, it is because of what you guys just reported that school districts for some time now have been having conversations. They've been having meetings with parents, with students, and with staff about what to do in case ICE agents show up at a school campus.
Denver Public Schools is telling its staff do not allow entry into the building if ICE agents show up on campus, and to place the school on secure perimeter and use an intercom to communicate with the government official. Flor Canales is part of a group called Movimiento Poder, which among other things is trying.
Oh, that's delightful for the children. That's delightful. Yeah, let's train them to be scared of the people trying to protect them. Weird. And this is another, this is, thank God, my daughter's homeschooled now. She was in a Denver public school. I pulled her out of there. They were so mean to us after they found out we were Trump supporters, by the way. That's a whole other video. I should have been more vocal about it during the elections. It's pretty disgusting, the public school system. And it is an indoctrination machine. It's disgusting how they're trying to breed hate into these children. Thank God my daughter saw through it. She was the advocate for her own withdrawal from school. She's like, Mom, I cannot go there. I feel like it's a prison. Then recently we were driving by a prison. I said, she goes, that looks just like my school. And then I see the sign. It's an actual prison. It was a prison off of Kipling here in Lakewood, Colorado. It looked just like her school.
trying to help address a growing concern among some children in schools.
They're asking, for example, can ICE come to our school? What happens if, one of my parents is detained by ICE? Or what happens if I'm detained by ICE?
Aurora Public Schools told its staff in a memo to politely inform federal agents the district has a process regarding requests to talk with students. The district wrote there is no indication there will be immigration action in APS schools. Former ICE field office director and Heritage Foundation traveling fellow John Fabricatori says ICE has never targeted children in schools.
ICE agents have targeted cases that they're going to be going after right now. We're talking about criminal illegal aliens. We're talking about final order cases. ICE has no reason or want to go into an elementary school, junior high, or high school.
The Department of Homeland Security said today its agents will now be allowed to go into sensitive areas, which includes schools. Movimiento Poder is working to help make sure its students know what to do if ICE agents show up.
Public schools really do kind of look like prisons, don't they? I mean, I hate to say it. Now, the good, compassionate, healthy thing for an adult in any position, whether they're a school teacher, a bishop, would be to say to a child, don't fear. We have people protecting us. And I mean, if their parents are criminals, then that's something that should be looked into. This is why it's very messy. And Tom Homan, watch my Tom Homan video. He has said many times, we don't believe in separating kids. Just don't do anything illegal. Your kids aren't going to be separated. And if you've come over here illegally, then you can bring your kids back to wherever. Nobody is saying to separate kids. So you could instill some peace and comfort into children by saying, you're not going to be separated from your family. If nobody's done anything incorrectly, if there's nobody in harm's way, everybody's going to be safe. And these people are here to protect and serve. They're peace officers. ICE officers are here to protect and serve. There's nothing to be scared of. We are protecting you. But instead, they're turning the children into these fear mongers of like, oh my gosh, I should be scared of President Trump who's trying to protect me. I should be scared of police officers. I should be scared of ICE. It's sick. And I think it's child abuse.
If ICE agents show up.
We are pointing them to a lot of kind of know your rights information that we do have available. So a lot of it is, for example, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney.
Movimiento is now preparing packets for migrants with information on how to be prepared if someone from their family is arrested by ICE.
We also learned today that Greeley Public Schools and the Cherry Creek School District have also had conversations about immigration and possible ICE action. Now, today we reached out to the ICE National Office. We have not heard back from them about this new development today and whether there will be any actions in Denver. Reporting at North High School, I'm Vicente Arenas, Fox 31.
Yeah, why don't we all come together in unity to say that we're here for the health and well-being for all Americans and all immigrants who have come here legally, that we are here for the health and well-being, even of the immigrants who have come here illegally. They're being harmed by this stuff. They're being harmed too by the cartels and by TDA and by migrant crime. Where's the compassion for them? Let's get back to common sense. Oh my dear God. In other news, it's President Trump and First Lady Melania's anniversary today. So happy anniversary to them. Watch the video I did on Tom Homan and the full reaction of this creepy bishop's, I don't know what you want to call it. She called it a prayer, I guess, or a prayer plea. I think it was just creepy is what it was. I don't think it was a prayer at all, in my opinion. And please do subscribe if you find value here. I would love you to join the conversation here at the Hutchison House Reacts. Thank you.